You work, you strive, you do everything right, and yet you feel that the money is never enough, that peace never lasts, that life always demands too high a price from you and your family. I need to ask you something. Have you ever stopped to realize that this pattern did not begin with you? Look back. Look at your father, at your mother, at your grandparents. The struggle was the same. The scarcity was the same. The anguish was the same. It seems there is a cycle, a kind of invisible inheritance that is passed from generation to generation, and no one ever had the courage to say, "Enough. It is over." This video is about that moment. The day you decree, with everything you have within you, that misery, financial, emotional, spiritual, is forbidden from touching your children, your grandchildren, your entire descent. And I will show you, based on science and spirituality, why this is not just a beautiful wish. It is a decision that changes the biology of your family. Stay with me until the end, because what I am going to reveal here may be the turning point in the history of your lineage. Before continuing, I need you to understand one thing. This is not a motivational video. It is not that content that leaves you emotional for 5 minutes and then everything returns to normal. Here, we go deep. We are going to truly understand why certain families seem cursed by scarcity, and primarily what to do to break this once and for all. If this subject makes sense to you, leave your like now, because it helps this video reach more people who need to hear exactly this. Let us begin with the symptom. Pay attention and see if you recognize yourself in at least one of these situations. You have worked since an early age, sometimes since 12, 13 years of age. You always had to fend for yourself. You learned that life is hard and that no one gives you anything for free. When you finally manage to save something, an unforeseen event occurs. The car breaks down. A health problem appears. An old debt resurfaces. It is as if the universe had a secret agreement to never let you truly breathe. And worse, when you look at your family, you see that this is not just with you. Your father lived like this. Your mother lived like this. Your siblings live like this. There is a constant sensation that you are always running behind, never ahead. Always paying bills, never building wealth. Always putting out fires, never resting. And there is more. It is not just about money. Notice, there is an emotional pattern as well. Arguments that repeat themselves, relationships that end the same way. An immense difficulty in showing affection, in saying, "I love you," in hugging without a reason. It seems that in your family, affection always came mixed with harshness, that love always came accompanied by demands, that presence always had a price. If you identified with any of these things, do not blame yourself, because what you are living has a name and science can already explain it. There is a field of study called epigenetics, and here is where things become truly impressive. Epigenetics is the science that studies how the experiences lived by a person can alter the way their genes function, and how these alterations can be transmitted to children and grandchildren without any DNA mutation occurring. In other words, it is not the gene that changes, it is the way it expresses itself. It is as if the gene were a book, and epigenetics decided which chapters will be read and which will remain closed. In 2013, researchers at Emory University in the United States conducted an experiment that shook the scientific community. They exposed mice to the smell of cherry blossoms. At the same time, they applied a small electric shock. After some time, the mice felt fear just by smelling that scent. So far, nothing new. What shocked the world was the following. The children and grandchildren of those mice who had never received any shock also felt fear when they smelled the same scent. The grandfather's trauma was recorded in the grandchildren, without anyone teaching them, without anyone telling them. The body simply knew, and it does not stop there. Another study, conducted by the University of Zurich, analyzed descendants of survivors of wars and collective famines. The researchers found altered epigenetic markers even in the third generation. That is, the grandchild of someone who went hungry presented biologically a greater predisposition to fat accumulation, anxiety, and scarcity behaviors. The grandchild's body was still preparing for a famine that had ended decades ago. This is terrifying and liberating at the same time. Terrifying because it shows the scale of the problem. Liberating because If science proves that these patterns are transmitted, it also shows they can be interrupted. Epigenetics is not a death sentence, it is a mechanism that can be reprogrammed, and that is exactly what you are going to learn to do here. Now bring this to the Brazilian context. Think of your grandmother. Perhaps she came from a family of northeastern retirantes, fleeing the drought, experiencing real hunger. Or perhaps your grandfather lost everything during some economic crisis. Perhaps your great-grandparents were enslaved or direct descendants of people who were. The pain these people lived did not disappear when they died. This pain remained recorded in the way your family deals with money, in the way your family deals with affection, in the way your family deals with fear. That phrase you always heard, money does not grow on trees. The rich are all thieves. We are poor, but we are honest. These are not just phrases. They are programs. They are epigenetic instructions translated into popular language. And every time you repeat these phrases, every time you act based on them, you are reinforcing the cycle. You are pressing the repeat button on your lineage's pattern. And here I need to tell you something that might hurt a little, but it is necessary. Until you realize that you are repeating the history of your ancestors, you cannot change. Awareness is the first step. You are not to blame for having inherited these patterns. But from the moment you know they exist, you become responsible for interrupting them. Now let us talk about something that science is beginning to understand, but that spirituality has known for millennia. In various spiritual traditions, there is the concept that a single person can change the destiny of an entire lineage. In Christianity, there is the figure of the intercessor, the one who stands between God and their family and says, "I take responsibility. From me onward, everything changes." In African and Afro-Brazilian tradition, there is the idea that the ancestors observe and wait for someone in the lineage to awaken, for someone to finally have the courage to do differently. In the Oriental tradition, they speak of family karma, a collective karma that crosses generations until a family member reaches enough consciousness to dissolve it. Do you perceive it? It does not matter which spiritual tradition you follow. All of them converge at the same point. There is someone in the family who is the chosen one, someone who was born with the mission to be the turning point. In the scriptures, Joshua was that man when he declared, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." He did not ask permission from the entire family. He decided, and his decision covered his entire house. In Brazilian indigenous traditions, the page is the one who carries the weight of the tribe on their back so that others can walk lighter. And in transgenerational psychology, there is the concept of the symptom bearer, that family member who manifests all the accumulated suffering, precisely because they are the most sensitive, the most conscious, the one who has the capacity to process and transform. And if you are watching this video this far, I am almost certain that this person is you. Because ordinary people do not seek this type of content. Ordinary people do not feel this restlessness that you feel, this constant discomfort, this sensation that you came for something greater than simply paying bills and surviving. This is the sign. It is the calling. It is the confirmation that you are the link in the chain that will break. If this is making sense to you, I want to ask you, write in the comments, "I am the turning point." Write it now. This simple act of declaring already begins to activate something within you. The word has power. The declaration has power. And when you position yourself publicly, your brain begins to treat this as a decision, not a wish. Now comes the most important part of all, the solution. How in practice do you decree this enough? How do you interrupt a programming that has been repeating for generations? I will give you 3 keys, 3 movements that, done with consistency and consciousness, are capable of rewriting your family's history. The first key is radical consciousness. This means looking at your family's patterns without romanticizing and without demonizing. It is not for you to look at your father and say, "He was a failure," nor to say, "He did the best he could." It is to look with clarity and recognize, "My father repeated what his father did. He did not know how to do differently. And I now know." Radical consciousness requires you to make an honest inventory. Take a notebook. Write. How was money treated in your house when you were a child? What were the phrases your parents repeated about wealth, about work, about worthiness? What emotions were always present? Fear, anger, shame. This exercise is powerful because it takes the programs out of the unconscious and places them in the light of consciousness. And everything that is in the light can be transformed. What remains in the dark continues to command your life without you noticing. There is a fact that few know. A study by the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul showed that children of families who lived in situations of extreme poverty in Brazil have significantly higher levels of basal cortisol, the stress hormone. Even when these children have already achieved a better financial condition, the body still responds as if it were in danger, as if at any moment everything would be taken away. This explains why so many people who start making money feel enormous anxiety, spend everything quickly, sabotage their own success. It is not a lack of character. It is biology. It is the body repeating the survival programming that came from parents and grandparents, and radical consciousness is the first step to interrupting this. The second key is ancestral resignification. This is profound. Pay close attention. To resignify is not to forget. It is not to pretend the pain did not exist. It is to look back and find a new meaning in what happened. It is to understand that your grandparents did not suffer in vain, that their struggle, however hard it was, generated strength, it generated resilience, it generated the capacity to survive that is in your blood to this day, and that now, in your hands, this same strength that was used to survive will be used to prosper. When you perform this resignification, something changes within you. You stop feeling shame for your history and start feeling honor. You stop running from your roots and start feeding on them. It is no coincidence that in African spiritual traditions, honoring ancestors is the basis of everything. Because when you honor those who came before, you receive their strength. When you reject them, you lose the connection with your own foundation. There is a practical exercise for this. If you have old photos of your grandparents, great-grandparents, place them in a visible spot in your house. Look at them every day and say, mentally or out loud, I honor what you lived. I carry your strength. And from me onward, this strength will generate abundance and no longer scarcity. It may seem simple, but the effects of this are extraordinary. You are literally reprogramming the narrative of your lineage. And if you do not have photos, it is no problem. Sit in silence, close your eyes and visualize. Imagine your grandparents, your great-grandparents, even if you never met them. Imagine a long line of people behind you. Each of them lived, struggled, suffered, and survived, so that you could be here now at this exact moment, watching this video. Each of these people carried a burden. And now you have the opportunity to take that burden, thank them for it, and transform it into wings. It is not about erasing the past, it is about alchemizing, transforming lead into gold, pain into wisdom, scarcity into abundance. I know a woman from the interior of Minas Gerais who did exactly this. She came from a family of washerwomen, 5 generations of women who washed clothes for others, not because they wanted to, but because they believed that was their destiny. When this woman became aware of the pattern, she cried for days, not out of sadness but out of understanding. She finally understood why whenever she tried to start a business, something inside her locked up. There was an internal voice saying, "Who are you to want more? Your grandmother washed clothes, your mother washed clothes. Go back to your place." When she performed the resignification, when she thanked her ancestors for their strength and said, "Now this strength will serve something greater," everything changed. Today she has her own business, earns more than any woman in the family ever earned, and is teaching her daughter to do the same. The chain was broken, and it began with an act of consciousness and honor. The third key is the conscious decree, and this is the most powerful of all. A decree is not a request, it is not a supplicatory prayer, it is not you begging the universe. A decree is an unshakable decision, declared with authority, that reorganizes the reality around you. When a judge decrees a sentence, no one argues. The sentence is carried out. When you decree with truth, with power, with consciousness, life obeys in the same way. But there is a crucial detail. The decree only works when your entire being is aligned with it. If you say, "I decree abundance," but inside you feel you do not deserve it, that it is too good to be true, that money is dirty, the decree does not leave your mouth. It gets stuck there. It does not reach the universe. It does not reach the quantum field. It does not reach God. It does not reach anywhere. That is why the first and second keys come first. You need radical consciousness to clear the patterns. You need ancestral resignification to align your heart. And then, only then, the decree has the power to change everything. I will teach you a decree now, and I want you to repeat it with me, out loud if you can, even if it seems strange, even if someone is nearby. Do this for yourself. Do this for your descent. Today I declare that I am the turning point of my lineage. The scarcity that came before me stops with me. The pain that crossed generations finds its healing in me. I honor my ancestors and transform their strength into prosperity. From today onward, my children, my grandchildren, and my entire descent are protected. Misery has no permission to touch them. Abundance is the legacy I leave. This is my decree. It is done. If you repeated this with truth, something inside you has already changed. Perhaps you felt a shiver. Perhaps an emotion rose up. Perhaps your eyes became watery. All of this is a sign that the decree reached where it needed to reach. Do not ignore these signs. They are the confirmation that you are on the right path. Now I need to tell you about an aspect that almost no one addresses. The decree requires sustenance. It is not enough to declare once and forget. You need to live the decree every day. This means changing concrete habits. It means stopping the repetition of the scarcity phrases your parents repeated. It means starting to treat money with respect, even when it is little. It means investing in financial knowledge, reading, studying, learning about investments, about management, about entrepreneurship. It means breaking the taboo that exists in many Brazilian families of not talking about money. You know that culture where talking about money is ugly, is something for self-interested people. That is a trap. That is another programming of poverty disguised as virtue. And it goes further. Think of how many times you have heard in your house phrases like, "Go to work because money doesn't fall from the sky," said with anger, with bitterness. Think of how many times the subject of money was accompanied by fighting, by tension, by slamming doors. Your brain recorded all of this, and it created an association. Money equals problem, conflict, pain. The result? Every time you approach a prosperous financial situation, your unconscious pulls the handbrake. Because for it, more money means more problems, and the brain will always choose safety, even if that safety means remaining poor. There is a concept in neuroscience called the financial thermostat. It works like this. Each person has a level of income they consider normal for themselves. If you grew up in a house where the family income was 2,000–3,000 Rs, that is your thermostat. When you start earning more than that, your brain goes on alert. Something seems wrong. And then, without you noticing, self-sabotage behaviors begin. You spend too much. You fight with the boss. You lose clients. You make bad investments. All to return to the level of the thermostat. All to return to what is normal. The only way to change this is to recalibrate the thermostat. And this is done with consciousness, with the repetition of new patterns, and with the firm decision that the old normal no longer serves. Data from the central bank show that more than 60% of Brazilians do not do any type of financial planning. And most of these people come from families where money was always a forbidden or painful subject. Do you see the connection? Silence about money perpetuates poverty. Financial ignorance is transmitted from generation to generation, along with fear and shame. When you break this silence, when you sit with your children and talk openly about money, about how to earn, how to save, how to invest, how to donate, you are doing something revolutionary. You are breaking a cycle that perhaps has hundreds of years in your family. And here the spiritual part enters again. Many traditions teach that abundance is the will of the Creator for His children. That scarcity is not a divine punishment, it is a distortion created by human beliefs. When Jesus said, "I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full," He was not just talking about spiritual things. Abundance is health, it is peace, it is money, it is love, it is purpose. It is all of that together. And when you allow yourself to receive all of this, without guilt, without fear, without the sensation that you will lose it, then you are aligned with the flow of life. You are aligned with the creative energy of the universe. I want to tell you something that happened to me when I understood all of this. I realized that for years I sabotaged opportunities. I would receive a good proposal and find a way to ruin it. I would save money and spend it on something unnecessary. I would start a promising project and abandon it before it yielded results. When I did the exercise of radical consciousness and looked at my family's history, I understood everything. My grandfather lost a property because of a betrayal. Since then, in my family there was an unconscious belief that having too much was dangerous, that if you had a lot, someone would take it from you. And this belief was operating in me, in my decisions, in my fears, in my financial limits. On the day I identified this and performed the resignification, my relationship with money changed radically. Not overnight, but it changed. Opportunities began to appear, and this time I was able to embrace them. That is why I speak with such conviction. It is not theory, it is experience. And if it worked for me, it works for you. Because the laws that govern these things are universal. They do not choose by color, by class, by religion. They work for everyone who is willing to apply them. We are reaching the end. But before closing, I want to reinforce something fundamental. The day of enough is not a day on the calendar. It is a day in the soul. It is the moment when something inside you dies so that something new can be born. The victim dies. The poor soul dies. The one who accepts crumbs because they think they do not deserve the banquet dies. And the chosen one is born. The one who decrees is born. The one who changes history is born. You are not doing this just for yourself. You are doing it for people who have not even been born yet. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, people who will live in a different world because one day you decided to stop repeating and start transforming. Think about this. 50 years from now, when your grandchildren are living with abundance, with peace, with dignity, they might not even know your name. Perhaps they will not know your story, but they will be reaping the fruit of a decision you made today, of a decree you made now. This is legacy, this is purpose, this is what it means to be the chosen one of your lineage. You are the seed that was planted in difficult soil, but refused to die. That pushed the earth with everything it had, broke through the asphalt and flourished. And when such a seed flourishes, it produces fruits that feed entire generations. Every decision you make from today onward carries this sacred weight. It is not a weight that crushes, it is a weight that strengthens. Because now you do not live only for yourself. You live for all who will come after. And this responsibility, instead of paralyzing you, will give you a strength you did not even know you had. If this video touched you, if something here made sense, I need to ask you 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell, because this type of content does not appear in your feed by chance. If it appeared, it is because you needed to hear it. And I have much more to share with you. Second, share this video with someone in your family, someone you know is trapped in the same cycle. Sometimes a person only needs a click, a spark, for everything to change. This video can be that spark. Third, write in the comments what pattern you identified in your family. When you write, you take it out of the unconscious and place it in the consciousness. And the community here can be a space of healing and strength for everyone. I believe with everything I have that you are the turning point, that your lineage was waiting for someone like you, someone who is not content with crumbs, someone who feels deep in their soul that they came for more. The day of enough is today. The decree is made. Misery is forbidden from touching your descent. Now it is up to you to sustain this. Day after day, decision after decision, choice after choice. I will be here, on this channel, walking together with you on this journey, until the next video. And remember, abundance is your birthright. Claim what is yours.